Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks. On Wednesday, the 4th day of March, year our Lord 2020, welcome to the John Moore Show. We begin our shows with something I believe every federal employee should begin their workday with every day. That would be the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prepper tip of the day, haven't mentioned this for a while, good to remind people, get all your dental issues taken care of. We may or may not have a crisis coming up, but you do not want to be going through a crisis short-term or long-term with dental issues. That would just make things incredibly much worse. So that's your prepper tip of the day. You get all your dental issues caught up. And of course, our expanded prepper tip is to remind people to get their water filters and to get all the On Guard products from doTERRA that they need for themselves and their family. It's sanitizing spray, the oil, the roller bottle, the caplets, the beadlets, and so forth. I am a doTERRA dealer, proudly a doTERRA dealer. On my website at libertyman.com, drop-down menu under products, you can go right to doTERRA and get what you need from doTERRA for the On Guard products. We're going to have open lines this first hour. The second hour, we will have my friend Jeff Nyquist with us. The virus that it is the talk of the town, even at the Cherryville store, people are talking about it. It's the talk of the town all over the United States. I'm working with several doctors and scientists, people well qualified to do high-level research. So far, I'm not seeing anything that causes me great alarm. So far, the people I see at risk of death are the ones who are at risk of death from any flu anytime. Any flu anytime. There's a lot of consternation right now about these testing kits. So if the person takes a test and they're found to have the coronavirus, what's different? Well, in terms of treatment of the patient, nothing I'm aware of is different in terms of the treatment the patient receives. What would be different would be the treatment of the patient as a source of spreading the disease, and that person would, of course, have to be quarantined. That's the only thing I see different about whether a person is tested or not tested. If there's anything else, I'm not aware of it. I'm not at risk of death from the coronavirus. I'm not really concerned about it because if I get the flu, I get the flu. The last time I had flu-like symptoms was January 2000. I missed a couple of days of work. I just finished the longest jury trial of my career. It was about 2 months in U.S. District Court in Southern Illinois. It was a marathon. It was an absolute marathon. But if you're at risk, then you should be concerned. So who's at risk? Who's at risk? Well, children under age 5, adults over age 80, people who had chemotherapy recently are still taking it, people with organ transplants, people with they're diabetic, and everybody, and this is almost half the adults in this country, I'm sad to say, everybody who takes a prescription pharmaceutical product of some sort, except for pain meds and psychotropic drugs. We're talking a big chunk of the American public here. Probably half the adults in this country are taking some kind of prescription medication every day of the week. So that's a lot of people at risk. It's tens of millions of people at risk of death from any flu. And that's what needs to be emphasized here. Death from any flu. This particular flu is probably a biological weapon. How do we know that? Well, there's a couple of easy things to look at. That's how long it can live without a host on a hard, cold surface, and the incubation time. The period that would be the time from the period of time between when the person is first infected and when they first start showing symptoms. Two very distinctive features of biological weapons when both those periods of times are longer than you might expect. Got a caller on hold here. We've got John in Tennessee. Good morning, John.
Good morning, John. I've got a question, and really it's just your opinion. Okay, you know my thoughts on coronavirus. I have asked two of your guests, one Dr. McCaney, or Professor McCaney, and the other one Dr. Lynn. And one totally rejects it out of hand, and the other says it's a possibility. So I'd like to know your thoughts on what they think.
My thoughts on what Professor McCaney and Dr. Lynn think?
Right. How can two people that are so well respected, what do you think about what they think?
Well, I respect their opinions, and that's pretty much it. I respect their right to have their opinions and voice them. That's about it.
Do you think that it's possible that 5G is being used to create the virus?
I'm not aware of that being a possibility. I'm not aware of that technology existing. If it does, I don't know.
Well, I sent you an email with a link to an article that outlines it from Cambridge.
Okay, well, I did.
Have you read that article?
If the subject line didn't say private for John, it doesn't get looked at because I get too many a day to look. I would do nothing but read emails if I read every email, and I still wouldn't read them all.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll resend it. What did you want in the subject line?
Private for John. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because I really think
John, I got a life, and if I'd read all the emails, I would get nothing else done and still not be able to read them all. And I read pretty fast, by the way. And most of these emails are just...
Yeah, I do. I do too.
The majority of emails are not emails. It's just no message, just a link to a video that's an hour and a half long.
This is a link to an article from Cambridge.org.
Okay,
so,
sounds good.
It proves that 5G 60 gigahertz affects the oxygen uptake in the blood that results in symptoms that are flu-like. So to think anything else, I think, is to be naive, to be truthful.
Right. Well, 5G's here and there. It's only in a very few densely populated urban areas as kind of a test situation at the moment. They want to do it worldwide, I know, but it'll never be out here where I am. We're too spread out. But it's in a limited few areas in some densely populated urban areas where they're testing.
Well, again, they put up 130,000 5G base stations in Wuhan 2 weeks before the corona outbreak. And overexposure to 5G at 60 gigahertz makes you sick, resulting in oxygen uptake in your blood not being done sufficiently, and it causes flu-like symptoms up to and including death. So who's testing? How are we knowing that they're testing properly? We're taking word from people that we know have lied to us for generations. Allopathic doctors that benefit from vaccines.
You're not the only person. You're not the only person, John, issuing warnings about 5G, and I know some people who are qualified to really talk about that competently, but I have not talked to them.
Well, one other thing to take into consideration: the one group that patented the coronavirus was funded by Bill and Melinda Gates, and who stands to benefit with the 2010 TED Talk that he gave, resulting in human population decrease by means of vaccines. Who do you think would be behind it, John?
Well, that's on my website.
I don't. Right.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I know that. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the call, John. The call number is 800-313-9443. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm more concerned about the vaccine than I am about this virus. I've not seen anything that tells me that this virus kills people at a higher percentage than any other flu. It is easier to catch. for the reasons I just outlined, the incubation period being so long and how long it can live on a hard, cold surface outside a host. That means that everybody's going to be exposed to it. Unless you're living in some remote area and have no contact with civilization at all, of course you're going to be exposed to it. That's a given. That's a given. People can self-quarantine, and if I was a person at risk, I would certainly consider doing so. But there's too many people at risk, too many people at risk that have to go to work. They have no choice. They have to go to work. And for almost all people, that means leaving their home and going someplace else as a place of employment. So it's a given that people at risk will be out in public and they will be exposed to this. And will they get it? Will they not get it? Well, that remains to be seen. But anytime you're out in public, you're surrounded by people who are at risk. That attractive young woman in front of you at the grocery store, checking out with her bananas and lettuce, she may have a heart transplant. If there's 5 people in front of you at the supermarket, one of them is taking a psychotropic drug, with yourself being number 6. Maybe you're the one taking the psychotropic drug. Something that changes the way your brain works. Watch people walk. A very good friend of mine died, let's see, it'll be 2 weeks ago this coming Thursday. 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And most of the last year of his life, at least the last 6 to 8 months, he had what I call the old man walk. That's my private term I've used. I'm the commander of my local American Legion post, and I've been with this post 18 years, and I've watched these men die over the past 18 years. And pretty much without exception, the last year or so of their life, they acquire what I call the old man's walk, a stilted walk, where they're taking a step of maybe 10 or 12 inches with great difficulty and with obvious pain, the old man's walk. And when I see that, after about the 4th or 5th time, I came to realize, well, it's this guy's turn to go. He's got the old man walk. And if you're out in public, where there's large gatherings of people of all ages and sexes, you'll see people like that, men and women both, with what I call the old man walk. They typically don't go out very much because it's painful to do so, but they do anyway. Yeah, we're going to lose people. We lose people every year to the flu. We lose people every week. They're parading these numbers around as if there's something special or unusual or unique about them, how many people have died. What they're not putting out there is how many people die from the flu every week of every year. 700 in this country. 700 a week die from the flu. That's an average, of course. Averages spread out over a year. Far more in the winter than there are in the summer, but 700 a week is an average. In the winter, it's probably up over 1,000, and in the summer, it's probably down maybe 200 or 300 per week. That's not news. News is something unusual, unique, special, out of the ordinary. That's news. 700 people dying a week, every week, is not news. Not at all. I don't want to dwell on that a whole lot longer, but let's talk about preparedness. We're seeing, a friend of mine was at a supermarket recently, and there was a sign saying, 1 bag of rice per customer. Now that's in St. Louis, Missouri. We're already seeing nationwide shortages in some places, especially where there's been announcements of the coronavirus, paper products and food, hand sanitizers. I think the N95 masks are sold out nationwide pretty much, and I've heard, I have not confirmed this, that people are price gouging N95 masks on eBay, taking advantage of people's fear. Well, I've got my masks. I've had them for years. And the main thing is to keep that stuff out of your lungs. And quite frankly, a plane, you can't, well, back up a bit. If you wear the N95 mask for more than 2 hours continuously, you're going to hurt yourself. And what does that mean, hurt yourself? It means you're going to build up the carbon dioxide in your bloodstream. Don't do that. If you want to wear an N95 mask, hey, go for it. Going out in public, you're going to make a quick trip to an appointment somewhere, go shopping, and you think you need to do that, then wear it. But don't wear that thing more than 2 hours continuously. You're going to hurt yourself. Now, a plain old dust mask that contract construction workers wear when they're in dusty environments, you can wear that all day long. I've got plenty of those. I probably got a couple hundred of them. They come 100 to a box. And if the time comes and I want to do that, I will spray the On Guard sanitizing mist on it to enhance the ability of the On Guard to intercept this virus before it gets in my lungs. Got a regular caller here. We've got Dave in New York. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, John. I heard you say that you didn't see any evidence that coronavirus causes deaths higher than the normal flu in U.S. or. Well,
the numbers we're seeing that appear to be higher appear to be in. Let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, most people who get the flu don't report to a healthcare professional. I never have myself. I've had the flu probably several times in my life. There's no record of me ever having the flu. So if you get the flu, whether it's coronavirus or otherwise, and you don't go to a healthcare professional, there's no record you ever had it, is there, Dave?
Well, John,
Dave, hold on.
We have to look at.
Hold on through the break.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Back here, I'm going here on Wednesday, the 4th of March. I will be speaking in Indianapolis, Indiana, May 1st and May 2nd with Pastor Paul Bagley. Details and tickets at my website at thelibertyman.com. Dave, I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing here. What I'm noticing, and you probably have noticed the same thing, the percentage of people that die from this is being reduced each week. The reason I believe is because we're getting the general population is being more exposed, as opposed to the people on a cruise ship. The two Japanese citizens who died from that flu that were on a cruise ship, they were both in their mid-80s with underlying health conditions. What's your observations, Dave?
Well, when I see, of course, they're only giving the data that they have, and it could be in Wuhan. You know, when you've got tons of people infected, the worst people are going to make it to the hospital, and the others don't even bother.
Exactly.
So they could be inflated, but in my calculation showed that it was 4.8% of the people, and that's what was reported back on February 20th. 4.8% of the people who got it were infected. Now, a whole study of 72,000 patients finds a 2.3% case fatality rate. Now, case fatality rate is for the epidemic when it is over. And so if you get the information before all these people have completed and died or lived, you know, come out healthy or dead, the numbers will be slightly off. They would be lower in all my estimates. Now, when I take the worldometer numbers, I see for China, it was 3.6% of the people who were infected, who ever were infected, the total number of cases had died. 3.6%. That was on March 1st. On March 3rd, the data was 3.7% because some more people died and there were not that many new cases. Okay?
Right.
That's my assessment. Now, when I take a look at the data worldwide, and this is for all the other infections in the world, and these cases are newer, these epidemics in the other locations are newer, I get 1.6% death rate. So the death rate from the flu, as measured by our hospitals, when people get a little cough and go, is 0.1%. That's significantly less. And I don't think that would be just accounted for by the number, you know, the severity of cases that go here being that much different. But I can't say that for sure. The only other reassuring thing I can say is that if you look at the numbers, the death rates in China outside of Hubei province where Wuhan is, it's 0.7% death rate based on their numbers. That's deaths divided by total number of cases outside of Hubei province. 0.7% is much closer to our 0.1%.
Right.
We may see a death rate anywhere between like 0.5% to 2.3% that they're quoting. I guess. What else can I say?
Well, I appreciate your analysis, Dave. Sounds like you're mobile. I appreciate your calling in while you're mobile.
Yeah, I had to go somewhere with somebody else. So.
Right, right. Well, thank you, sir. I know you're doing some great work out there and trying to keep a normal life and on top of it. So we just stay at it and keep some balance there.
Yeah, the only other thing I can say is it's rather interesting. I was watching Mike Adams on InfoWars with Alex Jones, and Alex Jones is going crazy, random. He's saying that what was he saying? He was saying that this could just be a fake out. This could be a false flag, and or it could be real. I don't know. And Mike Adams just says with a real straight face, real honestly, he says, I think it would be very difficult for 60 countries to fake this thing.
Right.
And so, I think he's a very level-headed influence in that program. That's all I can say.
Well, you're talking opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to being level-headed, Mike Adams compared to Alex. Absolutely. No doubt at all.
Maybe that was an obvious observation.
Right.
Talk to you later. Thanks.
Okay, Dave. Thank you for the call. The call number is 800-313-9443. I think we put a half an hour in this thing. Let's see if we can move on to something else. We've got a bottom of the hour break coming up here shortly. The election. Well, the Democrats are scared to death that Bernie Sanders would become the candidate for the Democratic Party. I would cherish it. I can't think of a better man to have against Donald Trump. Of course, Joe Biden may end up being the guy. He'll make a complete fool of himself. But the main concern of the Democrats is losing all the... All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 4th day of March. It is March. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. There's lots there. People are telling me, John, there's a lot of stuff at your website. Well, there is. I was talking to my friend who owns a hobby farm down the street from me. It is a hobby farm all set up and ready to go. And unlike my place, which is mostly unusable because it's rocky hillsides, most of this acreage, in fact, all of it is very usable because there's gently rolling. There's no steep rocky hillsides. Beautiful place, nice home, ready to move in. Guest house behind it, ready for use. He's a contractor. He built this place to suit himself and his wife, and after everything is all set, they decided to leave the area and go be near their children and grandchildren about 100 miles away. So the hobby farm is still for sale. You need to check that out. If you have issues with sleep, a large percentage of Americans do. That's this Mike who sells My Pillow is making a fortune helping people get better sleep. Well, I'm not making a fortune, but I do help people get a better night's sleep with the energy cleaner. I seriously do, yeah. If you have arthritis pain, the energy cleaner will help you there also. What a bonus that is. $285 shipping included to American zip codes. I have everything in stock ready for immediate shipment, the energy cleaners, the mattress pads that go with it. You can check out the details at my website, and keep in mind, I have a 90-day money-back guarantee on the energy cleaner. That's what I have. So check out the details, place your order right there using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You need to send me a check. My address is at my website. I got a toll-free order line. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. A lot of concern about what's going on with the economy. The stock market is, of course, being adversely affected by the concerns over this flu virus. Of course, the stock market and the economy are two different things. We have a worldwide global economy. I have friends that absolutely refuse, if they can, to buy anything from China. I like to buy American myself, but it's difficult to buy things only made in America. If I can, I do. If I can't, I can't. But a large percentage of pharmaceutical products And the raw materials for pharmaceutical products come from China. Now, that's an issue. That's an issue. And that supply chain right now is slowed down to a trickle. That's easily verifiable. What kind of supply do we have on hand here? Well, it's not a year's worth. I doubt that it's 6 months. It's probably more like 90 days. Typically, that's my expectation. And when that's gone, people who rely on psychotropic drugs to appear and act normal because they can't otherwise, what's going to happen to them? People that need heart medication, anti-organ rejection medication, all the various pharmaceutical products that people take every day. Well, if you need a drug every day to keep your body from rejecting the heart transplant you've got, well, it doesn't take too long to figure out what's going to happen there, does it? Not too long at all. I personally know 2 people with organ transplants. One's a gentleman my age, the former president of a bank. He wrote a book about his experience. And the other's a young woman, the daughter of some friends of mine. She had a heart transplant when she was only a few weeks old. That's the only 2 I know personally with heart transplants. Now, there's other people with various other organ transplants, but the heart is obviously something that's not optional. So, if you're one of these people that, if you require a pharmaceutical product to live, and you need to be getting an extra supply of it if you can. If you can. Now, when it comes to pain meds and psychotropic drugs, that's not going to happen. I've mentioned this before, but if you don't know it, I'm here to tell you, it's not going to happen. If you attempt to do so, you're committing a crime. So I would not even attempt to do so. And there are alternatives. The doTERRA essential oils can help. This is what's kept people healthy and well. I was listening to a short video this morning about how the Atlanteans were using aromatherapy to help stay healthy tens of thousands of years ago. That's where the essential oils come in. What do you think you use for aromatherapy? You use essential oils. That's what you use. That's what works. That's what's healthy. Can't hurt you. I'm very proud to be associated with doTERRA. They're the best. They are the best. I talk about water filters a lot. First drink you take of unclean water, it's a one-way ticket to dehydration, diarrhea, and death. Bad water kills millions of people every year all over this planet. That's pretty well known. If you don't know it, well, that's the way it is. Berkey water filters have been around for many decades. They've got a track record of being a good quality water filter that will provide you with clean, pure drinking water. I am a Berkey dealer. You need, when it comes to water filters, you need at least 2, but everything that important should have at least 2 of. You need 2 base camp filters for your home base and 2 filters for being on the move if you're out in the bush, going from point A to point B, whether it's a motor vehicle or on foot or on a bicycle or a motorcycle, whatever it is. If you're traveling cross country, you need a portable water filter. I believe we have some of those at my website under Amazon products. The Katahdin is the highest quality. They're mil-spec, made in Europe. Katadyn, Katahdin. It comes down to really simple stuff. People want to make these matters complex when it comes to bug-out bag and things like that. I've worked with any number of civilians who want to put together a bug-out bag. Almost without exception, they want to put too much in there. In fact, I can't think of any exceptions. Civilians putting together a bug-out bag will put way too much in it. And more than they could ever possibly carry uphill for any length of time. You start carrying something uphill, that's when you really determine the real weight of something. Going flat, when you're walking flat or downhill, downhill can put you at risk of falling, but going uphill is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to carrying any kind of weight, whether it's a child or a firearm or a backpack. Which brings up the topic of being in shape. Are you in the kind of physical condition you'd like to be? Are you? You're sitting there answering it to yourself, not to me. Well, if you're not, probably a pretty good chance you're not. What are you going to do about it? What will you do about it? Well, the first question is, how bad do you want it? What sacrifices are you willing to make to achieve that goal of physical fitness? It's going to be physical fitness that's appropriate for you, not for, not comparing yourself to anybody else. What's appropriate for you? Your aerobic strength, your anaerobic strength, your flexibility, your endurance, all those things play into it. I'd rather work with a man who can lift 50 pounds 200 times than a man who can only lift 200 pounds once. That man who can lift 50 pounds a couple hundred times during a day, that's the guy I want on my team. 50 pounds is a bag of feed, by the way. That's your anaerobics, your aerobic strength. Let me get this straight here. That's your aerobic strength. Anaerobic strength is bench pressing. That's anaerobic strength. You need both. So start slow. If you got underlying health issues, talk to your healthcare professional. You don't want to hurt yourself. Whatever the workarounds are, you need to do your workarounds concerning any issues you've got with your heart, your lungs, injuries you've had, whatever it might be. Just do your workarounds and work on improving what you can improve without hurting yourself. That's the smart thing to do. I have a regular workout I do at least 5 days a week, sometimes 7, but at least 5 days a week. I'm up at zero. I'm telling you this to help motivate some people. I'm up at 0500. I do my stretching first. Same stretching I did when I ran track in high school and in the Army. I was on the Fort Bragg track team and then the Fort Leonard Wood track team. Then I do my 300 crunches. I no longer do sit-ups. I do my 300 crunches, my 100 push-ups. That's my workout in the morning. And then mid to late afternoon, typically this time of year it would be around 3 to 4 o'clock. I'll walk a mile. Part of that mile involves walking up a hill, the height of a 10-story building, about 100 feet, and then down another hill, and then around the premises. It's about a mile total. And that's my afternoon exercise. Other things I do are pretty athletic around here. For fun, riding my motorcycle. Riding a motorcycle that weighs 750 pounds is a athletic pursuit, to say the least. And, of course, work around the ranch here, up and down ladders, often on the Kubota tractor, moving big boulders and logs and so forth. A lot of physical activity, and that's good. It feels good to be physically active. I like that. But do what's appropriate for you. Set some reasonable goals. Determine a way to reach those goals, and then work towards reaching them. In a disciplined manner, not to overdo it. You're not going to reach your goal in a week or two. It's going to take months, probably. Myself and Dr. Wilbert were both planning on running in the Senior Olympics on Memorial Day weekend this year. I'll be running a 100-meter dash, and Dr. Wilbert has some pretty high, lofty goals to run in about compete in half a dozen events. And I'll be cheering him on. Go Dr. Lynn. He was quite the athlete as a young man, and he's still an athlete, and I'm still an athlete, and you can be also, if you choose to. if you choose to. But that's a matter of personal preference and priorities. And once again, how bad do you want it? What sacrifices are you willing to make? Dietary changes. It's hard for people to change what they eat and drink. It really is. My wife, Dr. Moore, she got her chiropractic degree, became a doctor in the fall of 1985. And very quickly, within weeks, she found that her patients would not make dietary changes. They simply weren't going to do it. One patient she had, and she would tell me stories, but never names. She maintained confidentiality. Always. That's her professional obligation. She said, honey, I've got this female patient who takes pride in never drinking water. And I was just incredulous. How can you not drink water and even take pride in it? Most Americans are at least slightly dehydrated. And that's just a fact of life. And most medical professionals know that Americans tend to be dehydrated and not consume enough clean, pure drinking water every day like they should. Now, when I was in grade school, I remember there was water fountains strategically placed around the school. And during breaks, the students could get drinks of water. And, of course, I did. I drank lots of water as a student. I recall that very clearly. And usually the students would line up to get their drinks of water between classes and during breaks. I don't know if they still do that or not, but that's what we did back then. There would be a fixture set up at the appropriate height for little kids to bend over and get a drink of water comfortably. I don't know what they do now. I never really thought about it. Never had any reason to. But you need to stay hydrated. Now, in the summertime, I put 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt per quart of water to help keep my electrolytes in balance. That's not optional either. Your electrolytes get on, I was talking to a friend about this recently. Your electrolytes get out of balance, you're going to get muscle cramps. You're going to have cloudy vision, not cloudy vision, but cloudy thoughts. Your brain fog will be part of it. All kinds of bad things when your electrolytes are out of balance. Muscle cramps, joint cramps, and so forth. So keep those electrolytes in balance. That's, do not drink Gatorade. If I was king, I would make Gatorade illegal. Quite frankly, I would. I'm not king, and I'm not going to make it illegal. But don't drink that stuff. You need clean, pure water with a little bit of sea salt in it. That's all you need. You don't need to be spending money on these different waters that have whatever they put in them. I wouldn't trust that for a moment. And as I said a moment ago, do not drink Gatorade. They have a brilliant marketing strategy to make it look like the athletes all, and a lot of them do consume it. They give it away as part of the marketing scheme, and have all these 5-gallon containers with the green containers as Gatorade in yellow letters, I believe. Brilliant marketing strategy. People see these professional athletes consuming Gatorade and think, well, if it's good enough for the NFL, it's good enough for me. No, it's not. It's not. It's horrible stuff. Don't drink that stuff. Artificial sweeteners is poison. Literally poison. Insect poison. Yeah, how about that? Don't consume any product that's got artificial sweeteners in it. Soy products? The only soy products I consume are ones that have been fermented, like soy sauce, for example. These other soy products, no, human beings should not consume that. Milk? Adult human beings should not drink any milk of any kind. J.R. Moore, our second hour on Wednesday, the 4th day of March here at Republic Broadcasting. The prepper tip of the day, the expanded prepper tip of the day. Get your dental issues all taken care of and caught up, and make sure you've got at least 2 Berkey Basecamp filters and your doTERRA On Guard products. The On Guard products will help you have a stronger immune system and fight off all diseases, all flus, not just the coronavirus. That's your expanded prepper tip of the day. We have a patient waiting in Greenland, my friend, Jeff Nyquist. Jeff began a quest more than a quarter century ago to become quite expert in anything and everything to do with the International Communist Conspiracy. His website is jrnyquist.blog. I say again, jrnyquist.blog. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, John.
Well, sir, I see your article published yesterday is titled The Exigency, and then you have a quote by Eric Vogelin, if I'm saying it right, Vogelin. One can easily be in a story and not understand it. That certainly applies to most veterans of most wars, doesn't
it? Yes, it does.
Unfortunately. And I routinely meet Vietnam veterans who can't tell me if they were in I Corps, 2 Corps, 3 Corps, 4 Corps. They don't even know. They can't even tell me that. That's how lack of ignorant they are of the war that they were part of. Your first sentence is in this article, the world is in crisis. I'm not referring to the viral pandemic. So you're looking at the lack of logic and the lack of proper information here, aren't you?
I'm looking at the war of ideas and the fact that bad ideas, I think purposely bad ideas, have been spread throughout our culture, and that those ideas have degenerated our culture, degenerated us, and that people don't even realize that the ideas that they're passing around, like you pass around the germs of the common cold, are dangerous. They have no conception that an idea can destroy you if you take it seriously and it's the wrong idea.
Well, I agree, and there's multiple examples of that. You're giving there's a quotation here from George Orwell's novel, 1984, it's a book and a movie. I suggest people both read the book and watch the movie both, and it would be a learning experience, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. They in fact they made a version of the movie in 1984, and I believe it was Richard Burton's last movie.
Really? Was it his last film? I was not aware of that.
It was his last film, yeah.
Huh. Well, he had quite a life and quite a career. We got a caller on hold here. We got Jeff in Massachusetts. Good morning, Jeff.
Oh, thank you very much, John. Well, John and Jeff, I voted yesterday for a couple of members of the Republican Committee of Massachusetts. One of them didn't make it, but you see, all politics is local, and what I see is the people voting for these Democrats for one simple reason, because it's by the people for the people, which is money. In other words, to get that nice cushy job, to get if you want legalized drugs, if you want to commit sin, vote for the Democrats, or any kind of debauchery or evil, vote for the Democrat. Whereas if you have a real right-wing conservative in there who says, we will make sure we proverbially crack skulls over drugs coming into this country, and we put the hammer down on communism to where you won't get any freebies, no more welfare, no more garbage. We will crack heads on illegal immigration. We are serious about this. That person will never get elected, because guess what? People want to sin, and Democrats give people that option to sin, the proverbial candy, so to speak, of free goodies, freebies, and not care who pays for it. Or they'll say the landlords have all the money, the whites have all the money. We'll take it from them and give it to you, you poor thing, you. So to me, communism is a criminal enterprise. What do you think, Jeff?
Oh yes, it is a criminal enterprise. There's no doubt. The communism is a scam, and the people that end up ruling it have a criminal psychology. You look at Mao Zedong or Castro or Stalin or Lenin, they had, these people were psychopaths. So, yes, they mass murdered people. They stole enormous amounts of wealth or destroyed wealth. They took people's freedom away, and they had no conscience.
You're right.
When someone like Lenin says anything done in the proletarian cause is honest, he's saying you can lie, you can cheat, you can steal. It's all honest.
Wow.
And that's definitely criminal. So, no, and the thing is that they also work. This is Solzhenitsyn pointed this out, that the favored people in the Gulag were the actual criminals. They used those to help exacerbate the torture of the political prisoners. So, and of course, the KGB made special deals. This is true in China and Russia with the secret police, so that the criminals worked with the secret police to help them control the system. And they, by the way, to this day, Chinese and Russian criminal groups work with the KGB, work with their secret services to penetrate the United States.
That is so true. Well. Before I go, here is the thing, which is, do you believe that the reason why the left wing is going against local police is because they want to put in a national police force, preferably with foreign-born criminals manning those posts, whether they be Islamist or communist, like MS-13, etc. And also, too, why do people keep falling for the communist scam? Is it because people inside are that depraved that they want that they want something for nothing? Thank you very much, Chef, and thank you very much, Sean, and have a good one.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up there, Jeff, before we go to our next caller?
Well, yeah, I guess somebody once said there's a sucker born every minute, so that's why people keep falling for it. Look, I've seen people falling for communist scams, for decades. We saw presidents that should have known better. I remember Senator Malcolm Wallop's book warning against the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Agreement, and he gave all the reasons that Ronald Reagan had given before, but Reagan still signed it. So everybody seems to have their own special case of being fooled. Why do people get fooled? Because, when Reagan said trust but verify, the problem with that was that once you trusted them, you couldn't verify because you'd only be verifying that you were a fool. And you couldn't do that because that would wreck your political your political reputation. So it turns out that every administration has covered up for Soviet treaty violations because they're part of the, they look foolish.
Understood. So, we have a regular caller here giving for the update, Alex in New Zealand. Good morning, Alex.
Hello there, Jeff and John. I've got two things for Jeff. First off, one of them is that I'm not sure if Jeff has been reading the news. Apparently, a Norwegian lawmaker nominated with a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm not sure if Jeff would like to comment on that.
No, a Norwegian lawmaker, I didn't notice. No, what about him?
The Hong Kong protest movement she did manage to get the Hong Kong protest movement nominated with the Nobel Peace Prize, and this has since been endorsed by the likes of Marco Rubio, apparently.
Well, the thing is that Nobel Peace Prizes, have been awarded to people who had been specially useful to the communists. So, it's interesting that even before President
a second thing
Barack Obama was going to meet with the Russians, he was given a Nobel Peace Prize in the anticipation that he was going to make peace, make some kind of a treaty. So, sorry, you're fading in and out.
Well,
One
Alex,
of my relatives who live in Hong Kong. Are you there, Jeff?
we have a bad
Yeah,
connection
here,
today, Alex. You start talking, then you're gone for 4 or 5 seconds, and you're back.
Okay. One of my relatives who live in Hong Kong has told me that a lot of parents in Hong Kong are now grieving for their missing children. He left work during the weekend. He saw the parents putting flowers and photos of their missing children. And my cousin saw Martin Lee and Joshua Wong trying to join in the morning, but the parents told him that they were not welcome in joining in because they encouraged the children to protest on the street. Okay. I would like to say, over the week, my cousin told me that in Hong Kong, it has entered a period of mourning.
Alex, we have to conclude this for the time being. Let's do this. Why don't you call back at the bottom of the hour, because we're really having difficulty hearing what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay. Normally we have a good connection, but today it's in and out. Today it's just in and out, and we need to have a good solid connection. I always look forward to Alex's updates. He's got some interesting perspectives and context both, doesn't he, Jeff?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he does.
Firsthand.
Yeah, I hope he calls back at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, well, hopefully he will, and we'll have a better connection. Of course, he's calling from the future. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Thursday. It's Thursday, the 5th of March, where Alex is. So I guess, is he a time traveler then? I guess, I don't know.
I suppose.
The Democrats are scared to death that Bernie Sanders will become the candidate, aren't they?
Yeah, because he actually uses the S word, and they don't really want that word used.
Well, there's more to it than that. They're concerned about all their Democratic nominees, office holders, running candidates nationwide losing because they have a blatantly communist front runner running for president. I think that's the real concern. The F word, of course, plays into it, but I think the real concern is losing the House of Representatives and all the other seats they're running for nationwide. What do you think?
Yeah, they know that if this becomes the label of the party, then they're stuck with it. If Bernie becomes their front runner, they're stuck with everything that he openly represents. And then from that point on, the people are going to leave it and they're going to join the Republican Party.
That's right. That's right. Well, in that regard, I hope Bernie Sanders is the Democratic nominee. I cannot think of a better difference between two candidates. The premier capitalist, patriot Donald Trump, and the socialist Democrat communist Bernie Sanders. I can't imagine a greater contrast. Can you?
No, it's hard to imagine.
And that's where we are with that. I've been encouraging people, and you've been part of this, Jeff, to encourage their conservative friends, neighbors, relatives, coworkers, people they go to church with, to get registered to vote, get them to the polls if they need help getting to the polls, child care, whatever it takes. We need overwhelming numbers. It's only 8 months away, isn't it?
It's coming soon. Definitely coming soon.
Right. And the possibility of civil disorder following the election, no matter who wins, I think has not gone away. Because Plan B, if it's a free and fair election, President Trump will be reelected. And Plan B for the Socialists, Communists, Democrats, Muslims is violent civil disorder, isn't it?
Yep.
So
yeah,
we need the numbers.
So.
We need the numbers. We need to win the election, and we need people prepared to deal with whatever our opposition is going to come up with, whatever violence they intend to do. We need to be able to counter that, overwhelm that, take names and whatever it takes to maintain order, keep the power grid running, keep our society.
Regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting Truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 4th of March here at Republic Broadcasting. I'll be speaking in Indianapolis, Indiana with Pastor Paul Begley. That will be in Indianapolis, Indiana, May 1st and May 2nd. Details and tickets available at my website at thelibertyman.com. Beginning with Jeff Nyquist. His website is jrnyquist.blog, jrnyquist.blog. Well, Jeff, your increased productivity in writing articles is very refreshing, and I know you're reaching out to many thousands of people, and that you have books for sale at Amazon.com also. Well, thank you, sir, for being more prolific in your writings, because I know it's helping a lot of people to understand this world we live in better, and I do thank you for that, sir.
Well, I've gone into various issues over the last week, and there's always something happening. There's always something that needs to be touched upon. I had written about my note on anti-Semitism last week. I wrote a follow-up on that because so many people on Twitter were quoting from E. Michael Jones on it. And so I wrote a piece about Jones. I had read through part of his book, The Jewish Revolutionary Spirit, and people were just quoting it like crazy. Of course, people didn't know that Jones was the person who had traveled to Iran and who had publicly stated that Iran is the center of the free world.
Really?
And so yeah. So it's and when I'd written that anti-Semites are not really pro-American people, that you were always going to find that they were siding with America's enemies in some sense, very often. I wasn't joking, because I followed the careers of people of that persuasion, Americans like David Duke, who'd gone to Moscow. Willis Carto. Who do they support? Not our friends. They support our enemies. And that's a very interesting thing, because you see, there is this similarity to anti-American and anti-Semitic propaganda, in that a lot of people don't realize that Karl Marx is considered by many people anti-Semitic, and that America, as a capitalist, as sort of the heartland of capitalism, is considered Jewish because of that. Because capitalism, the Jews are blamed for the evils of capitalism, as they are blamed for communism. So America is a Zionist, entity, basically. And this is an anti-Semitic, you would say it's an anti-Semitic meme or anti-Semitic commonplace. So that you cannot be pro-American, really, if you're an anti-Semite and believe in America's traditions of freedom, because capitalism, of course, is all about freedom.
Well, I agree, Jeff, and that's people that talk about capitalism as being something evil. I think they're confusing what I call predatory capitalism, where wealthy entities take advantage of our legal system to create monopolies for themselves, for example. But pure capitalism is the best way for the most people to have the most freedom and the most wealth. Nothing else has ever come close anywhere on this planet that I'm aware of. How about you?
Yeah, economic freedom. See, every time somebody argues against freedom, whether it's freedom of speech or freedom to buy and sell, which is really what capitalism is, it's the freedom to buy and sell where your property rights are protected. Anyone who argues against it on the basis that it's dangerous is really out to take your freedom away. Oh, gee, we can't let people say that, and so then suddenly you allow them to close one person's free speech, curtail one person's, and then next thing they're going to curtail yours. Oh, no, what you're saying is dangerous. Or if we let them enter the marketplace, it's going to, ruin us all. No, as soon as you start doing that, you are putting an end to freedom.
I agree, absolutely. Well, hopefully the articles you're putting out will have some positive impact and help people really understand the issues as opposed to the muddied propaganda being put out by other entities. I know you're working on your next article or two, aren't you, sir?
Well, yes. I'm working on a paper which is sort of like a letter to America, which is to talk about the threefold threat that we face now with the virus and with the fact that we have an internal subversive threat and we have an external military threat, and how that threat interacts with the virus.
I'm looking forward to seeing that one, as I am all your art. 5-hour break. Right.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
All right, we are back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 4th of March. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. There's lots there. President Trump's letter to Speaker Pelosi is historical, well drafted, well thought out. It will be read and reread for many decades into the future. Very important letters are reprinted in full text there at my website at thelibertyman.com. Would you like to sleep as good as a small child every night like I do? Would you? Get yourself an energy clinic. You have arthritis pain? Get yourself an energy clinic. $285 shipping included to American zip codes. The mattress pads that go with it, well, they vary in price depending on what you need. We have everything in stock: twin, full, queen, king, California king, the handy travel size, ready for boxing up in the priority mail boxes that I take to Little Country Post Office at Cherryville, Missouri. Little Country Post Office with a restaurant, all the coffee you can drink all day long for 75 cents. A catfish buffet, all you can eat on Fridays for $8 with side dishes included. How about that? So you can place your order right there at my website using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can send me a check. My address is right there at my website. Yes, I do offer a 90-day money-back guarantee on the energy cleaner. Toll-free our line, 24 hours a day. Here it is, twice, slowly, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting with Jeff Nyquist. His website is jrnyquist.blog, a place where you'll find many articles, well-written articles, very thoughtful articles that are well documented. Well, we have Alex from New Zealand back. Alex, let's see how we do this time.
Okay, I've got one more item for Jeff. Now, one of my relatives who Hong Kong has told me that a lot of Hong Kong parents are now grieving for their missing children. And on the weekend, nearby the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, they set up a wall mourning their missing children. And apparently, Martin Lee and Joshua Wong turned up and they told their parents that they were paying condolences, but the parents told them they were not welcome because they should take responsibility for encourage the children to protest on the street, and they ended up missing. I'm not sure if Jeff would like to comment on that.
It's interesting that the parents blame Joshua Wong and Martin Lee. Obviously, the Hong Kong protest movement, these figures have relationships with Beijing that are very suspicious, that make it look like it's a controlled opposition. And for the large numbers of children that have gone missing, young people that have gone missing, how big is that wall, Alex? How many people are missing now?
According to one person who runs a missing persons page, at least 10,000 now. And from what I was told, the People's Liberation Army and the Ministry of State Security have begun hacking the Hong Kong internet network and the mobile phone network, and it's possible they have managed to access mobile phones of the protesters, from what I've heard as well.
10,000 is a staggering number. That's a staggering number of missing people. Yeah. I mean, only a communist regime could disappear that many people. Only a regime like China could do those kind of numbers in that amount of time, and covertly, when supposedly this is not the Hong Kong police that are disappearing them. This would be mainland state security that was doing this. Sneaking into Hong Kong, they must have been smuggling these people out and putting them in the Chinese Laogai, that's the gulag in China, or executing them. Who knows what's happened to them? Has anybody who is missing turned up? Alex, do you know?
No. Either dead bodies have actually been found, and there have been suspicions that dead bodies are coming down from the mainland as well.
So I'm not sure I understand. Dead bodies have been found or not?
Dead bodies have been found, but there are speculation they came down from the mainland, if you know what I'm saying.
I see. So how are they found? Where are they found?
They're usually found on beaches, if you know what I'm saying. Like
washed up on the beach.
Yes.
And this is greater than the normal number of people lost, drowned.
Yes, greater. And sometimes the bodies are either, how to say it, they're put in rubbish bags, or the body parts are all split, if you know what I'm saying. And it's really, and a lot of parents are really suspecting what is going on, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it seems like the Chinese regime, is getting rid of its enemies. It definitely has that feel to it.
So what's happening now is that Martin Lee and Joshua Wong, they're now being called communist agents by the parents as well.
That's very interesting. When people who really care about what's going on because they have a missing loved one come to that conclusion, which is a conclusion I think, Alex, you came to early on. And by looking at the background, of these people, my experience looking at people in Russia, you can always tell who's working as agents of the regime by their past connections. It's just simply impossible to have certain connections if you're not working with the government. And that's true in Russia as it is in China. And that's what we find when we look at these folks. These are criminal regimes. You can't rub shoulders with these people without becoming dirty. So that's very, very interesting. It's very sad what's happened in Hong Kong.
Okay, well, Alex.
Even more concerning.
Anything else, Alex? Go ahead.
That's all I have. Have John and Jeff.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Well, we appreciate your updates as always, Alex, and don't be a stranger. Call back anytime.
Thank you.
10,000 people missing. That's probably never to be seen again. That's the track record of the Communist Chinese, isn't it?
It's a staggering figure. 10,000 people from one city disappeared in a 3-4 month period.
Well, it is staggering, and of course, there's lots of evidence that the Communist Chinese like to harvest organs from living people against their will that are being held prisoner, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're harvesting organs from many of these 10,000 people.
That's certainly possible. It's certainly, I mean, the regime is so brutal. And now we face, of course, this is the same regime that its lab was creating this coronavirus, whatever its real properties are, that is spreading throughout the world. They were working on this as a weapon. It's almost certain because of the way this thing behaves. It's not like a normal coronavirus at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. And those characteristics are well known and well understood. The incubation period and how long it lives on hard, cold surfaces. Well, we can't take anything off the table. Knowing the Communist Chinese as I know them and as you know them, I would not put anything past them. Alex Jones has been making statements that this is a false flag. Well, I'm not sure that term applies, but it's the Chinese may have been planning everything that's happened, what appears to be inadvertent and by accident may be carefully planned and staged to achieve a goal, which would be to weaken the West, weaken the United States, to make us more vulnerable to an invasion. What do you think, Jeff?
It definitely is possible.
It is possible.
We don't know. There's something I should mention. There's something called the evolution of intention. That is, that in a situation, you can see an opportunity, and that it suddenly you can change your plan or do something different or do something more aggressive. That maybe wasn't the idea when things first started to unfold. And so we have to watch both Russia and China's behavior now, because the whole world is going to be put in under stress. And the global economic system is going to be challenged. And of course, they've always been, those two countries, as you could tell in their strategies and the way they discuss events, they have always been primed for the exploitation of a major downturn in the global economy in terms of their support for revolutionary parties and groups and communist groups, and their support, of course, for terrorists and other destabilizing groups. So what is going to happen here? And are there going to be outbreaks of other strange illnesses now beginning? And I refer to the report out of South Korea that that might be another virus. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Well, I know there's things coming out of South Korea and a lot of concern over what's coming out of there. What's the latest, Jeff, that you're aware of?
Well, there was a report yesterday that it was there was actually a SARS. Now they're calling this SARS COVID-19, but that there was another kind of SARS, and I didn't see any confirmation of it. I was kind of puzzled by it. So maybe they just confused SARS-CoV-19 in the story, but it seemed to be indicating that it was the older form of SARS, that it wasn't COVID-19. So we'll have to watch and see if that's confirmed or not.
Right. Well, there's a lot of consternation over lack of testing ability in this country. I'm not aware of any difference if a patient is tested positive for COVID-19 coronavirus. I'm not aware of any difference in the treatment the patient gets. There might be differences in how the people that person's been in contact is treated, and maybe some different protocols for isolation. But as far as the actual treatment the patient gets, I'm not aware of any difference at all, depending on the results of a test. Are you?
Yeah, well, the RS in SARS is respiratory, means respiratory system. It's a respiratory illness that we're talking about, and COVID-19 is a SARS kind of illness. So, and all respiratory illnesses have similar ways of being treated. If the patient has a general, inflammation of the lungs that they can't breathe, they need oxygen. That's a common treatment. There are extreme immune reactions that can cause the lungs to become damaged, and this is part of what some of the people suffer from this. And of course, treatment with immune suppressing drugs can damage the immune system and then result in other complications to the patient later. So, because this illness has these other properties where they can infect heart and kidney tissue, and then cause kidney failure or heart failure in the aftermath of the initial onset of the disease. But I understand this is a small percentage of patients, very small. But again, we don't know. We're going by Chinese reports, and we don't know how accurately the Chinese are telling us what this thing does.
Well, we can't trust the Chinese, obviously, at face value. We can't.
No.
Without independent confirmation. There's no way we can trust them. What we are seeing is the percentage of fatalities is going down wherever it's being measured in ways that we can count on as being somewhat accurate, to the point where the most recent number I heard this morning from a scientist I'm working with, Dave, in New York, 0.7% fatality rate is what we're hearing, which is not that much different than any other flu. But we do have a very much at-risk population here. About half the adults in this country are at risk for one reason or another, having a compromised immune system. We do not have a healthy population in general, do we, Jeff?
No, we do have, we have this problem with our food being adulterated by genetic modification. We have a lot of herbicides and pesticides in our food, and then people take a lot of drugs. Our doctors, our medical system is very promiscuous with its prescription drugs, which many are immune suppressive, many of these drugs.
That's all they know. American medical schools teach these doctors to diagnose symptoms and prescribe medications to make the symptoms go away, which doesn't leave the patient healthy. It just leaves them with the impression that they're healthy because the symptoms have gone away. Pretty much like putting a piece of tape over that red light on the dashboard of your automobile when it turns on. The symptoms gone away, but the underlying illness is still there, which is why about 30 countries or more have a longer longevity than we do in the United States, despite spending more money per person on what's allegedly called healthcare than any other country. Something's really broken when you spend more money per person than any country on the planet and have a shorter lifespan than at least 30 other countries, Jeff. Something's really broken, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think our medical system has been targeted with the same kind of disinformation and sabotage of ideas. And I'm talking about medical ideas. I suspected Trevor Loudon, who we both know who he is, he's a researcher in the area of communist infiltration and subversion. He told me that the doctor that came up with the idea that animal fat was the source of heart disease and was bad for you was an actual Communist Party member. And that this whole idea, and of course, what do you do?
You need fat. You need animal fat to be healthy.
Right.
I figured it out on my own. I had a small steak this morning.
Healthy.
All right. I had about a 4-ounce steak this morning with my eggs, and I ate all the fat, every bit of it.
Yeah.
We have a break. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, back here on Wednesday, the 4th of March. Well, Jeff, this hour has flown by. We've had some great calls. Our update from Alex in New Zealand is always glad to hear that. This is, I haven't thought much about it, but knowing how insidious the communists are, the infiltration of communists into the healthcare system, into the schools that teach the doctors, the teaching hospitals, that would be consistent with everything else they've done to weaken us and make us more vulnerable, wouldn't it?
Oh, it absolutely would. If they could get our health system to emphasize giving dangerous drugs to people, to not cure them of their illnesses, but to keep the illnesses going, but just to treat the symptoms, imagine how insidious that would be.
Well, I don't have to imagine it. Every time I'm out in public, I see it firsthand. No imagination necessary, sir.
Mm-hmm. No imagination. So the fact, you might, if you ever talk to Trevor, ask him about it, because I was fascinated to learn about it.
Well, I was talking to Trevor before my wife died, and everything's changed since then, of course. I wanted to get him on the show here, and I need to get back in touch with Trevor. He would be a great guest, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's got a new book, by the way.
Well, I need to get a copy of it and read it. Trevor Loudon, he's done a bang-up job in helping alert Americans to what we're really facing. Jeff, we're down to the last 2 minutes here. What word do you want to put out, sir, before we wrap it up?
Well, everybody should be very careful about what as sources of information they trust. Always look to see if the source of information really believes in freedom and supports the independence and the freedom of America and Americans, and don't fall for the line of propaganda. They'll try to suck you into some kind of ideology with a capital I and get you to believe in something that is not true. So just have your radar on.
Absolutely. That's good advice, Jeff. Keep your head on a swivel, keep your radar on, and just check things out before you follow them as being truthful, correct? Okay. Well, Jeff, we'll look forward to having you back next week, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. See you then. Tomorrow morning, we'll have the John Moore Radio Show economic advisor Steve Hunt with us. And, of course, Tom Berryhill will be talking about our favorite product, the Energy Cleaner, to help all of you get a great night's sleep and get relief from arthritis pain. Friday morning, Tom will be back talking about emergency survival communications. And Dr. Lynn